You have this amalgamation of players that come from all kinds of games.
This is a dream scenario in my eyes.
It's like really cool to see new players come and compete against me.
VALORANT's just getting started.
I like that.
Welcome to my world.
It's now time to see who actually wants this more.
And in terms of like the road to get here,
These players have brought everything to this tournament.
It's all about to go down.
It was intense, to say the least.
These guys are looking so damn good right now. What a play from Sean.
What's up with it?
I'm gonna run in, and I'm gonna kill your whole team.
The mega trigger discipline. Oh, that patience paying dividends.
Oh my word! Stop it!
this is what we came here for.
How has he managed to do that?
I have seen that video about a dozen times now, and it still gets me hyped up. Welcome to the NA Masters. Week 1's concluded. Week 2 has already begun, and we've seen some teams sent home. My name is Bach. I'll be your host throughout the show. Joining me on the desk, I got Vansili, Veli, and Potter. Veli, hype us up, man. We've been watching this over the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks. It's exciting stuff.
If you want a hype piece, you're going to get it now, Bach, and ladies and gentlemen. Listen, we have one more day, and that's tomorrow, to see who's going to go to the finals, to see everything that's been happening so far. 100 Thieves falling out, TSM not even making it, and the teams that we have left, this is the real top of NA, and I can't wait to see who's going to face Tens and Sins in the finals. So let's get the ball going, Bob.
Well, we're not the only region that's live. Let's go ahead and throw it to the video so we can recap on what's been going on elsewhere around the world.
They have no paranoia anymore.
Support from the dark cover too, Caboose. He can end the round right here as he goes through for the challenge. Oh, that's insane for Caboose for the aim. He can go around the world. No, he wants to fight on one. He's gonna get C2. Oh, this is huge for Bobby.
No way!
Step in the right direction, but Leo, great work from him. Comes out with the trade, effective.
They're trying to dig Leo out, but he's dug in. Find another one as well. Logan falls here. Can he get another? He will. 3 on the round. Roden falls as well. Fast comes through. It's going to be huge here if he tries to swing back out. This he does the 4th. He got readjust the 8th.
그리고 네, 핀돌이에요. 정하이 하나. 그리고 얼루. 둘. 와, 얼루가 일단 정했습니다.
Always great to see the different flavor that you get from different casters and analysts around the world as they discuss the game that we know and love as VALORANT. Looking at the last week or so of competition, obviously we had some games take place last week, going Thursday through Sunday, and then we had games yesterday as well. We've seen some teams already knocked out and some teams that have been eliminated. Vansili, looking at the last several days of competition, what are the big surprises to you?
I think at this point, definitely Gen.G, right? Gen.G making it on I would call it an upset victory versus 100 Thieves. Overall, like I said before, if I saw 100 Thieves not make it to the Masters, I wouldn't be as surprised because they're in a whole new project with Ethan coming to the roster. But then they made it, and I was like, okay, they might be back to their same form first strike. And then looking at them versus Gen.G, it just unfortunately fell so flat. Gen.G looked so good versus them yesterday.
Just looking at some of these highlights, you can see some of the players that we've been hyping up throughout the entirety of the Masters. And one of the players that stands out is definitely Food, a player we just saw a little bit of, but this play was absolutely ridiculous from Caboose yesterday. Look at this.
Man.
The spray transfer. That was the ace
watching
to shut out that match as well and close things. But it was Envy in this series against LG that just looked fantastic. And then we moved on to the match that everyone wanted to see. That was FaZe versus Sentinels. And honestly, I don't want to say that FaZe was disappointing because I feel like that's unfair. I think it was more so that Sentinels really asserted their dominance here, Potter.
Absolutely. And you know, I think it is fair to say that it was a little bit disappointing coming up with FaZe. You know, they absolutely raised the bar. You know, they raised our own expectations of what we can expect from this FaZe clan, and it fell a little bit short, but you're right, Bach. I mean, Sentinels, they were not missing a beat yesterday. Tens, he absolutely has a lot of friends now, and those friends come in the form of Sick. Sick absolutely has been gelling well with Tens, and their combo aggression in tandem just really blew FaZe out of the water.
Now that will not be a combination we see today, as Sentinels has punched their ticket into the Grand Finals on Sunday. They have to wait to see who they're going to be facing off against, and we start with that first match, Gen.G versus Envy. That's a rematch from the early part of the bracket. Winner of this will play FaZe, which, if Envy wins, could also be a rematch, as they were knocked down into the lower bracket by FaZe. So certainly some opportunities for some payback from both of these teams, but looking specifically at the match we've got coming up, we've got Gen.G and we've got Envy. Gen.G has definitely struggled with consistency at times. Envy, though, has never really found that really big win. Like, we keep waiting for this Envy team to hit that big point, that high point, Belly, and it just doesn't seem like it ever really comes to fruition.
I mean, nobody really wants to say it, but Envy, they've done extremely well when it comes to these seeding tournaments, and they've won it, which has spoiled us with the potential that they have, right? But when it comes to these big events, Envy, they've seemed to fallen short. Vans is holding on dearly to them. You know, their stock is high with him. But you know what? I feel like everybody that watches this event loves Envy one way or another. The question is, are they actually going to live up to that potential? Or is this going to be another disappointing event? I think with the way Mummy and Food was playing yesterday, this might be it. But Gen.G is not going to be easy, man. They're getting better.
Just to add a bit to that, too, I was scrolling over onto Reddit, on the subreddit of Valorant Competitive.
Oh, boy.
And it's good. No, it's actually good stuff. I saw an interview from Sean with Weirdbeard yesterday after they won versus 100 Thieves. And what he was saying was like, look, we tried to play a game before versus Envy in our best of 3, and we're trying to play and revolve around different strats that Envy plays, and it didn't pay off in our favor. And then versus 100 Thieves, we said, let's just play our own game. Kind of like FaZe does. Let's just play our own game, no matter what comp that we have, no matter what comp that they have, and see if it works out. And now you have somebody like GMD that continues to evolve as a great in-game leader, able to find these kinks to the chinks in the armor of their opponents to be able to adapt and take advantage of those spots. That's how Gen.G found the success in 100 Thieves. Hopefully we can find that versus Envy today.
Looking at the two teams as well, we'll bring up the rosters here so we can see who we're going to be watching throughout this event. But we've gotten to know these teams quite well, and we've gotten to know these players quite well. Looking at both teams, the players that stand out most on each side might not necessarily be the players who we want to profile the most, because you have kind of a weird role that takes place, especially when you look at Gen.G. Gen.G, I feel like any given Sunday, one of these players steps up. It doesn't really feel like we get that consistent high performer, right? Looking at a player like Sean, for instance, Belly, that's the player I think they really need to rely upon in this series to pop off.
You know what, Bach? The thing with Gen.G, they always take turns being great, right? You take a look at Sean, and in their first series of this tournament, Sean went 10-15 with first deaths, 2 for 6 on Haven. Going against the likes of Food and Caboose, you're talking about 2 duelists now that are going to get 10 and 7 kills, 10 or 7 first bloods, while going positive doing that. If Gen.G wants to win, Sean is going to have to be historically different than what we've seen in the past. He can't be going negative and just allow Win to be the one going 12-4 when it comes to first bloods and deaths. If Sean pops off, and they're going to need him for maps like Ascend and Icebox, whichever one is going to be, he always leads the way. If he's able to get the upper hand on one of those 2 players, Gen.G is going to take it, man. I'm telling you, you're going to have to watch out for him.
Just to add on to what Veli was talking about with First Bloods, because this just rang up. It's like, okay, if we talk about First Bloods, think about Win. He got 10 yesterday on that second map. And it's on average, if you're a duelist, you're happy at the end of the map if you've had maybe 6 or 7 on average, right? You're looking pretty good as like the top duelist there. But to have 10 as a jet operator too, you're really happy of that performance for Win, and you want to find that performance again today.
Now, what about both of them together, Vance? That's what I'm talking about. It's the duality of both of them on the same team popping off. We all know Food and Caboose are going to do it. I mean, look at the stats here. Food pops off. But if Sean helps out his teammates, because mid-game and late game, he's the man. He finishes off rounds, and he's the clutch factor that you need, Bach.
And here's the thing, too. Sean will play multiple roles, and we've even seen Win swap roles, but I think that maybe that was misguided. I think we won't see that happen again. I think we will see him probably stick more towards somewhat of a standard role in his jet play. But Sean is going to change the agent more frequently than Food, who's just going to pretty much lock down Phoenix. And same with Crashies, who's going to back him up. Caboose might flex things a little bit. So we might see hot and cold takes from Sean. Like Sean might be feeling Reyna one day, but maybe not feeling Phoenix or Raze if he decides to play on those agents depending on the map.
We don't want to hear that. We want him to pull it sick. Use whatever you think that you're comfortable with and just pop off. This Masters, we don't have time for an off day.
We're seeing a lot of agent kind of mixed matches and wonky setups, wonky compositions. We saw FNS debuting his Killjoy on Ascent yesterday for the first time. In the past, we've only seen him busting it out on Icebox. Sean, you mentioned it. He's kind of a wizard. He's able to play a bunch of different kinds of agents. And Quinn, is he gonna bust out the Sage? Are we gonna see Bind? There's a lot of good questions as far as what these compositions are gonna be.
Even just looking at teams that got eliminated, we saw that happen. Like looking at your boy Dre, who plays for LG, just deciding to play the Jet role
all of a sudden.
That was never something we saw coming. You know, they banned Haven for so long, and they're like, you know what, this tournament we're just gonna play Haven, and you're gonna play Jet. And apparently that was his decision. He was like, I want to play Jet. I want to play more duelists. So interesting to see that change up, and I think you're going to see that with teams in general. I think like in the long term, you're going to have players who are just like, I'm just tired of playing the same thing all the time. Like I would like to try to mix things up. I'd like to transition to a different role and play a duelist or play a controller or an initiator.
This is why you have good IGLs as Stellar, as Shazam, because when you have these players that are able to flex into different agents on different maps, that gives you even more flexibility or to adapt, first off, to what they're comfortable with, what they want to play, or if not, adapt your whole team based on that change of your players. So you also have to give a lot to these IGLs for that.
That was actually something I saw somebody say. I think it was actually in a Reddit post. Someone had said, will we ever see 6-man, 7-man rosters like we saw in the Overwatch League where players are maybe more comfortable on different maps or playing different agent roles? And I think in my head, I'm like, if you only feel comfortable playing one role on one map, probably not going to be playing at a high level for very long. Like, you got to be flexible. Something we've seen is the players who are a little bit more rigid and unwavering with their agent composition or agent selection. They're the ones who are starting to slip in the ranks, and the players who are flexible are the ones that are starting to shine. You know, we talked about Sick a little bit, and I know their team's not playing right now. Sick's probably one of the most flexible and versatile players that currently plays the game, and that allows him to be one of the best at it in general. Anyway, rant over. Maps. Let's look at the maps we're going to be seeing here for the series, because we got to know which direction we're going to be moving in. We've talked about these teams before, and we saw the maps that they played the first go-round. And yeah, not surprised here. We don't see Icebox come into the mix here, Christine, because last time Icebox did not go well for them against Gen.G.
It definitely didn't, and I guess this definitely makes sense, you know? It wasn't just Gen.G that Envy had an issue with on that Icebox, so I like it. I like the fact that they're veering off. Their Ascent yesterday, it was a bit questionable, only able to get, I believe, 3 rounds on the attack side, but as I mentioned, it was FNS's debut, and being the in-game leader, being able to come out with a good default on attack side with a Killjoy, it can be pretty challenging. Good news for Envy is, as they swapped over to the defensive side, that's where FNS really lightened up. He had those sweaty setups with Killjoy, and the fact that the rest of his teammates were able to fall in line and capitalize off of all the traps that he had set up. It was a good defense, but I'm curious to see what that attack looks like for Envy here.
And then even more curious to see how Gen.G comes out swinging on this, because this was a map they picked up a big upset win. This is one of the maps they beat 100 Thieves in to knock them out of the tournament. So there's certainly possibilities here that we could be going all 3 maps. And it's just going to come down to how well Envy plays on that first map. We're just about ready to jump into the action. So Veli, I'll kick it to you for your prediction here.
Predictions. I think this is going to be the upset. I've never given Gen.G the respect they deserve because I thought that they could always do more, and I believe in this roster right now. They're constantly getting better, and I'm on the bandwagon. I think Gen.G is going to upset Envy 2-1.
Oof, it's on me. I'm gonna agree on Veli here with Veli here as well. I think Ascent being that first map, Gen.G looks so damn good on it.
Yeah.
The drama of this rematch, Kusta, FNS used to be his old in-game leader. Now they're playing the same agents. I'm loving everything about this series. I'm gonna go with that upset Gen.G here as well.
Yeah, I love that storyline. It's going to be a 2-1. I agree with you guys, but it's going to be a 2-1 for Envy. So Envy's got this one moving forward.
All right, we know you're a homer for Envy. It's fine. I hope they see this, bro. I gotta go with Gen.G here. I feel like we do have upset potential. I feel like this first map is really going to be how they pace set. Win and Sean might find their footing, and at that point, it's going to be very difficult to stop them. But enough about us. Enough about our own opinions. We've got DDK and Riv ready to bring us into the action. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, Bach and Analyst. We are just about ready to get into game and honestly ready to start what will be the gauntlet for one of these teams to find their way in the finals. What stands ahead of them is a juggernaut of a journey, but it's about the game today. Envy versus Gen.G, and we're about to get a great match, Dan.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited. I mean, Gen.G, definitely dark horse of the tournament. I feel like, we saw them yesterday perform extremely well against 100 Thieves, looking, I think, way better than anyone expected. We all thought it would be a competitive series, but 100 Thieves really struggled. Gen.G clearly put a lot of work in, and it just makes me very excited that we're going to start this series off on Ascent, because that's where Gen.G played extremely well. Envy, a team which is widely known to have the best map pool, really, in North America. Very versatile team. Also, great on this map. So we're going to start off with fireworks for sure.
And I can't wait to see what happens for the rest of the maps, because we haven't seen Envy in the pool too much. Teams now feeling more comfortable as they've been able to feel out the tournament a little bit and how teams might want to play, how long the rounds have been going, as opposed to just smashing a site and making it happen. We were talking about it earlier. Mid has been played a little bit more here on Ascent. We saw GMD, Sean moving up into that area, taking a lot of space and making that attacking side work for the side of Gen.G.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, of course, there is somewhat of an advantage, I would say, towards Envy, just because they just saw exactly what the game plan looked like against 100 Thieves on Ascent in terms of what Gen.G were doing. So I'm curious how much of what Gen.G was doing was specifically tailored towards defeating 100 Thieves, a team that they had already had lots of experience in that matchup on that map against them. So it's something that we'll find out. We're going to find out what the adaptations are. We have a clear expectation as to what that attacking default from Gen.G looks like and how they succeeded. And what was really cool is that, as you mentioned, GMD was on the Omen. He had an amazing game in terms of frags, but it really didn't look like he was being set up by his team. Like, Win didn't get too many kills, but the thing is that he did an immense amount of work, just creating space, creating doubt, denying information, taking control of the A main, all these things just by himself. So there's just a lot to say in terms of what Gen.G's doing right at the moment, and that's so exciting to watch.
And a really interesting thing to note coming into this series is that Envy looks to be on defense for each map, and their defensive percentages have been increasing for quite some time throughout each tournament. So that could give them a starting edge. They do add a little bit of attack spice to their defensive side, so you're never just going to get a full on their heels Envy out of that team. And Food, Crashies, everybody's been stepping up a lot there. We heard the analyst that's talking a little bit about, GMD and Sean on the other side. I think this is going to be tough as well for, you were saying it's for Envy. I think it's going to be tough as well for Gen.G, that they're going to have to come up with attacking strategies each time on one of these maps.
I kind of love it, though, in a sense, because as we get into the agent select, I just love the idea that the dark horse pick, the team that has it all to do, the underdogs, that they get to set the pace straight away. That we get to see, exactly what they have in terms of their anti-shredding, if they've prepared anything on the attack to begin with. So I love the storylines that's going to give us, and I think already, we're seeing, what we would expect to see in terms of the composition for both teams. Looks pretty standard to me. Crashies, of course, there's always going to be one troll in the agent select. It looks like it's Crashies today, hovering on the Viper.
And honestly, you wish it wasn't. You look at the other regions, Dan, and Brimstone, Sky, and Viper are still not picked in NA. It has been picked in EU, in Korea, in LATAM North, South, and Japan. I mean, Brazil has touched on Sky. I haven't seen what hit recently this week, but yeah, international is going to be interesting. I can't wait to talk about that if we get a break here within this. But we're kind of stuck in our ways with it, but we're seeing a bit more come out of that meta of these agents in NA. And now here we're going to get what we'd expect from Envy and Gen.G as we start off on our first map of Ascent.
And one thing I think is awesome is, again, we already saw, and let's lay it out again, some of the ways that Gen.G were approaching their attack to begin with. And usually the storyline is going to be focusing on the attackers. So I'm not being, biased towards towards Gen.G, but it's really about how does Envy respond to what Gen.G's doing. So we have to start the storyline with what is Gen.G doing. And before, what we did see in terms of their defaults is Win sort of taking control of A main sort of by himself, doing a lot of work there. And in terms of the storyline, that's where I would put the first focus in terms of what Envy could do on the defense in those gun rounds, is make sure they have a plan for A main. But it looks like we're going to have a lot of action on A main. We're kicking things off here in the pistol between Gen.G and Envy, and it looks like it's going to start off with a fast-paced rip.
Frenzies abound here as well for both teams. A few other purchases, a little bit more detail. Classic for GMD. Food and Sean are going to trade the first few, as it looks like they are going to test out A and see how they can weather this storm to start off.
Yeah, quick exchange, 1-for-1. Definitely, I think both teams are okay with this. And we can see that catwalk control has been taken by Envy because they realize, okay, there's not a fast movement through A main to the A site. Let's try to figure out what's going on. We're expecting there could be a rotation. And indeed, we're getting an A split getting set up. Oh, Food with the timing on that flash is beautiful. And they're going to take down both Gen.G catwalk players, leaving pretty much nothing to go with. There's nothing in the tank, just Sean and Michael, and they're forced to go onto the A site.
They come as a combo, they work as a duo. Beautifully played there by Food and Crashies. And now we'll see pressure onto the site. Envy looking to possibly allow the post plant here without too much to say about it. And now they'll try to get in. Food on one side, the pinch from FNS as well. And Envy will find round number 1 on Ascent.
I love that from Envy, just because we saw from that catwalk play, Envy were just a step ahead in that sense. They already knew, based on what happened just previously on A main, what the next move had to be for Gen.G. And Gen.G weren't ready to anticipate that Envy would be like reading the game in that sense, and perhaps already expecting what they would be doing. If so, they would have waited in mid for a little bit. They had time to do it, but they didn't have the expectations. So Envy already, one step ahead of the game. They're going to pick up the pistol, which will force an eco here for Gen.G.
I got you, bro.
I like the rework back there onto the A site. Just kind of playing around with how Gen.G might rotate out, and they get a little free space there. Seeing what they'll do for second round, everything towards that B site. It looks like there's quite a bit of util here used on the econ. They want to know what's going down, or not the econ, sorry, for Gen.G side, but they want to know where everyone could be pushing from the side of Gen.G. Already towards mid as FNS is ready.
Yeah, Gen.G definitely, from what we see, a team that likes these B splits, especially on some of these eco rounds. A lot happening though. We can see Food having that push to mid, and just great angles, and nowhere to go really for Envy. They're completely crunched, and well, for this round from Envy, exactly how you want an eco, an anti-eco to be, and 2-0, but it's straight into the gun rounds. The action is kicking off here quickly, on a sense.
Okay, Food. It's cool. You have run it back third round. We see you. 6-0-2. Not even letting Mame and Caboose find any of the fun. Well, Caboose has an assist in there. But yeah, quick rounds there, and Envy wanted to make those expected after the pistol round. You should be able to get in there quick. Great job by Gen.G of trying to close some angles and get that work done, but it didn't work. Now for the first gun round, Dan, it looks like they're going to spread this out for a default to start things off.
Yeah, we actually don't see any focus at all around A main for either team here. One thing to bear in mind is that Envy is still carrying through some of those Spectres, so it is what we call that, that bonus rounds, where they have a lot of money to fall by next round, even if they lose this one. So you would expect them to try to take fights, not necessarily want to play the retakes, but try to take fights before that. And we see a setup around the tree position, so, and all the Killjoy utility is there also. So Envy definitely very strong around that spot, giving up a lot of space towards B, so they would be committing to a B retake with this opener if B is attacked, which looks like that's what Gen.G are looking for. Of course, they would have to destroy the door and mark it.
This could
Crashies is looking for information too.
It could be right after this Dark comes in if they have it. Yeah, you see the boat coming out as they get a bit of a firefight. Dark goes up into the corner, door's broken, and they're going to start hitting that site full on. A little bit of a lurk in mid by GMD, and he could do some damage, Dan.
The run it back is going to be used there by Food. Using the wall, though, to try to clear some space towards the site so they can try to help Crash. He's still backside alive by himself. Gen.G with an effective attack so far. He's able to get through, but it's looking quite desperate right now for Gen.G. Kusa's last man standing, and who's going to take him down with, I believe, a Phantom that he just collected. That's an excellent retake. It looked very labored. I have to say, Riv, I'm actually quite shocked that Envy were able to make that work given the positioning that they had.
Yeah, the graces of having run it back on round 3 was huge there for Envy. Being able to get a second chance to make that work for themselves really made the difference. And I think the pause there that GMD also was able to put on Caboose coming back around made things difficult too.
So now, eco scenario for Gen.G. Half by light armor on a couple players, the Sheriff's the Bucky. We'll see what they're able to do. Looking to focus on A main, but we've got Food and Wine. So this is quite dangerous. The orb is going to be picked up. Food might be trying to play contact off of the contact here of his teammate Mummy in the site. Mummy will jiggle. Oh, there's a great frag, and the opportunity is there for Food to swing. Great setup, and that might just win the round just off of the back of that one play.
Yeah, that's kind of a stay-and-play round, right? For Gen.G. They're like, well, we're probably pinched from each side. We got 3 taken out. The confidence from Envy is just overflowing at the moment. And that's going to be a final few shots from FNS. Great hits from Kusta, though. Almost takes him down. Is going to cause the rebuy of armor. And 4-0 here for Envy. A buy coming in for Gen.G. Ultimate's up. We're going to have the lockdown. You also have Empress. We'll see if they can make that work. This you called it right before it happened. The contact play and the peek from Wine before anything else could happen. A beautiful way to play that anti-eco.
And again, you know, you mentioned it before, and we talked about it so much yesterday when Envy were playing. There's such a priority on getting those run it backs on Food because not only is he an amazing player, of course,
yeah,
it's just an extremely strong ultimate with that 6 charge as well, so you can get them quickly. Very impactful on a map like, well, on every map. And we'll see a lot of focus around tiles here. Mummy actually able to take down Sean in that 1v1 from Catwalk. So a 1-for-1 early typically favors the attackers. There's 2 play. Oh, it's a bait. It's a huge bait. They won't expect there to be another player, Pizza. So if they go for this mid split, which we know they love to do, it's going to be pretty dangerous here for GMD.
That was a great call on the bait. I was thinking of the 2 in Pizza. This is great. He flies out. Who's going to look to the right again? At least not right off the bat. It doesn't seem to bear any fruit at this point, and the push could be bad. GMD waiting. Oh, and he gets Food on timing. His Food looks the wrong way. That's going to be lockdown going out, and the nade kills it immediately.
3-player retake. It's going to be a tough one here. Caboose is still on the site, as is FNS, so they may not even have to give up the site. And Gen.G looking to commit here, using the Hunter's Fury. Michael looking to find his target, only gets 1 tag with it. At this point, though, Envy are desperately weak, trying to defend with very little, and it's not going to go too well for them. Spike planted just for the extra ultimate points, and Gen.G pick up their first round. And yeah, it's interesting because Food, he walked down mid and got caught by GMD, and I think he was very much expecting if it was going to be a B split, like where are the players in mid? So really nice from GMD to just be tucked away for so long.
Well, he got his answer, right? As well as Gen.G varying up kind of how they're playing things, not looking too much for Envy there, but allowing Envy to come to them. We heard Van Silly talking about Sean's interview where they found that it wasn't in their benefit to play to the other team's strategy. If they went in and played their own game as Gen.G, that's what worked out for them. That's what gave them the advantage round to round. Here, it's back to mid, but it's blades out for win, so it's a little bit more of an advantage.
Yeah, and there's, I think, a lot to say. Oh my god, the shock dart's doing a lot of damage there, but it is onto Sean, so if he gets an assist or a kill, of course, he can just heal back up. And what's interesting here, you know, you mentioned the Blaze out for Win. Win is someone, he's playing the Jet. He's an amazing player. Jet's an incredibly strong agent, and this is an agent that can create lots of pressure, and it's not something that Envy's running. So this could be an X factor here for Gen.G and could work in their favor. And he's just waiting for a position to be able to strike there. As the rest of his team now start in the mid to late round, move towards that A site, he's going to be able to catch that rotation.
I mean, it's so good even to be that far up just for footsteps. You're going to get so much more information and range. Food! Oh, here's another one. He knows it. Double blind coming out. Mame is going to be able to start off with this operator, though, and that's big, Dan. He can usually shut down a round, but this is looking grim. 3v2. And we'll see if they can make their way into the site now. Mame's looking to lock down a few shots. As you hear him come out, the shot misses, but he is going to be able to get the right click classic to count.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Win. So close to making that one work against Mummy. There's actually nothing Mummy can do if he hits that right click. Kusa now in an impossible situation. He's got third one, and Mummy knows it. He's able to take the peek. Yep. And you know, we talked about an X-Factor. We talked about the dynamics with Jet. Mummy is essentially one of the answers there because he's the player that will be using the operator. His movement, his mobility is not quite as good as a Jet. He has a TP for that, but he has proven time and again that he is instrumental and so powerful with that operator, and he doesn't ever seem to miss. So he's a very stable player, Mummy. And we can see that works out right there at the end as Envy go 5 rounds to Gen.G's 1. Gen.G not finding the same success that they found against 100 Thieves on their attack just yesterday.
They're not. It seems like they're, you know, getting whittled away a little bit in their health bars before they're actually able to make things happen. We saw that it was Sean down to about 33 HP, I believe, at the beginning of that round from a few shock darts. And we'll see a bit of a purchase coming in here. Full armor, Sheriff for Sean. Maybe Empress out once he finds something there, and he'll be following somebody around. Let's see on the minimap as he's over on the left side as they start off setting up some sentinels. So another default. Could be orb grab here to start off for Gen.G. Is now they have to really consider how they can start putting rounds in their favor.
Yeah, and we will see that.
Like that peak.
Mummy's actually changed his position there. The operator, they might not expect it. And oh, that's the power of the operator. You know, you can move it around. And when you want to peek against an operator or a rifle, it's a totally different ball game. And so if you don't expect the operator, you're in a lot of trouble. And that's going to pay off here for Envy. And Win is trying to get something back. Oh, he's going to hear the running. This could be insanely huge. He's going to dash. He gets the punish. Oh my goodness. Win gets a double. And that's going to open up the round. It was looking very difficult before that, but Win has changed everything.
When you're doing that in game, usually you just get your head blown up because you're chasing this guy. Win obviously makes it work. Creating space and getting the kill. No one saw that. And we will continue this one at 3v4 as the retake now coming in for Envy on the post. Here's the plant from Kusta, and they'll let it happen for now. Mame waiting for the push, or Mummy waiting for the push forward. Cat check comes in. GMD has been so strong from this position. It just feels confident to stay there and get any of the flank.
Finesse trying to creep his way out here. Oh, he actually catches GMD. And that's something.
It's like catch somebody in ability day.
Yeah, able to get out of there. And he might be able to get an extra couple kills there because the exit through Gelato is coming through to try to save their guns. If these enemy players... Oh, FNS, he wants it. He's going to go for the second as well. And Kusa will take him out. But he did do some extra damage. Couple kills, keeping the economy honest for Gen.G. And again, they haven't been winning rounds here, so they don't really have much economy just yet. And that's definitely going to be a factor. We definitely would like to see Win on that operator as much as possible, but not really all that possible just yet. But 2 rounds for Gen.G, thanks to Win's luck through A main. You can see here, he heard the steps from Sova, from Crashies, you know, using the drone for that mid-round information, and did not work out too well in their favor that time.
I mean, you got to take that window, right? What a fast and great act there from Win to capitalize. 8 ults across the board, Dan. This could be an explosive round. 3 on the side of Gen.G, 5 for Envy. They have a lot of options here as they're on a partial as well. You see some Buckies and Sheriffs are on the board, and FNS is going to make it a little bit easier for Envy in this round 8.
Yeah, we've seen a lot more focus around B main from Gen.G so far, and we'll go into that a little bit later as we do see Gen.G beginning to work towards this very fast B split, but into the Bucky they go. Caboose is there. Oh my god, the ranges are perfect for the Bucky, and Caboose gets the trio of kills, spikes down on the ground, and once again, Win has to save it, but in much more difficult circumstances. Just trying to find some kills, and once again, Mummy looking good, and it's a flawless round, and if you look at what they had going into that round, it just... Oh, it's just heartbreaking for Gen.G, and
they didn't use a single ultimate, Dan.
Yeah, that's very true. They didn't have to. It's concerning, Riv, I got to say, because we're seeing a difference in the approach from Gen.G. They aren't going really for all that much A main control. For some reason, they have decided that, you know, mid and B main is generally where they will be. That's where the weaknesses should be. But Envy don't seem to be weak in those areas at all. So far, Envy are looking like an absolute fortress.
And look at the change too, right? The Bucky push, get to an angle that's going to be a return on investment. Gen.G are having none of it. They're going to do the Judge Rush, throwing down the verdict here. He's going to be able to get the run it back, and he goes down to a prison. The trade here is not the return they were looking for, Dan.
It's definitely he's able to get crashes, but that's going to be that. And I don't know. I don't envy Prius or Observer in saying some of these rounds, man. I don't know who you're supposed to pick to watch in these spots, but that's going to be the 7th round on the board for Envy.
Absolute, just flying in. I mean, you want to be able to test Envy as well in that situation. You're on a partial buy. Obviously, we saw the Judge coming in. They're flying through, and they didn't get much out of it either. You know, Envy just has an answer for everything right now, and that's so hard to play against. You did get to run it back that round. Lockdown's still going to be able to push you out of sight. Hunter's Fury, if you are actually getting into post plant. And we got to say, Gen.G still has a few ults to work with as well. Now the Empress there and Lockdown could really open up a sight if they stretch Envy thin here and kind of wait out the rounds.
Yeah, Food will he'll be pushed off of Catwalk. Well, actually, he's going to use the wall and the hot hand. So you can see that really does force the drone. And so that trade of abilities there, it feels somewhat even. The drone is extremely valuable. With that said, but Food is going to just be holding on to trees still, and we get a reset from Gen.G. A resmoke there as well from Mummy onto that catwalk position to allow Food to hold it. It's actually a slight gap to help Food out, so I like to see that.
So they just pulled the turret back. Kusta grabbed that from B, so they're going to put it back up here for flank. The take is going to be onto A as the smokes come out. Dark cover. Crashy's just waiting. Get that default dart in to get any ticks. Win already in their face. And now that they know, they hear the running in the sight. It's going to be a 5v5 retake. These are the ones you love to see.
Yeah, great positioning here around Catwalk. Oh, the crossfire. Oh, into Caboose, though. Gen.G swinging a little bit too deep. The showstopper's pulled out, and that could signal the end of the round here if it finds its targets. But Michael able to find a quick kill before the showstopper gets launched out. And it's looking like it's up to win once again. Knives come out, and Food is just so ready for it. Able to do what he needs to do to win the round for Envy. And a defense, I mean, I've got to say, Riv, you know, whenever I think about Envy, I think about a few things. One of them is a team that's it's just rock solid on every single map, and it's the defensive side too. Like, they feel like they're one of the hardest teams to play an attack side against. They're so strong on the defense, and it seems like that's ringing true here as well.
And they're, I mean, I gotta say, these ults for Gen.G have been there for quite a few rounds. This lockdown to even test what might Envy do from it. They've used 2 ults for the last 2 rounds to just keep taking these. I'm gonna stop talking about ults now. Let's see what they got as they go into the strats. Cover mid. That's gonna be the push coming in from Sean now. They go back to a bit of the mid work, making sure they have any lurkers on lockdown, and they can get themselves some better info and positioning to start off a round.
Mummy looking for the kill there on to the elusive win. Here comes that drone looking for info. Taken down, though, before it really saw anything except for Sean on the Reyna. And once again, you can see how Gen.G have really switched up their approach, looking for a lot more focus around A. Don't have any control towards B, which is where Envy decided to set up at the beginning of the round. And here comes the push, split.
Nice try there.
On the back of the split, we do have the Hunter's Fury going through Milo's position. But it's, oh my god, Crashies with the double. Envy, they're just so difficult to deal with.
Oh, it was a great try on the Hunters. Open. Food in there. Caboose now getting the work done with 2. His win is left alone. He's full up. Double up draft. But he is against
30 seconds left.
A lot of health right now, combined with 3 members of the side of Envy.
Oh my god.
No, this is what you get to do when you have an excess of ult stand.
Oh, it feels so bad, doesn't it? It's like if it wasn't difficult enough, they're just like, yeah, let's just drop the ult.
In the half.
Word.
Going to the last round, we don't need that lockdown. And they know the economy is terrible for their opponents, so it's just so brilliant of them to just lock it in like that. And it's really looking like Gen.G is having a very hard time finding grounds. And Envy once again proving that it's not just that they have good setups and they're very good at reading the game.
Yep.
Individually across the board, they are just, their level is just insane.
And they really haven't tested B. I wouldn't say at all. They've been there a few times, but it has just been to see if anyone's lurking out. A seems to be their comfortability, and they haven't been able to get in there. Mid worked for the first few rounds, as we kind of predicted and might see throughout the way that they play. But that's been kind of given up too, as they just feel like a few didn't go their way, and they got to change it up fully here. Still have that lockdown from Kusta. GMD with a bit of knowledge from the shadows could be a possibility as they're back to mid, they're back to pushing, and the spike's going to be there too. So this is almost committed.
Yeah, Crashy's drone through A main, so they have full information. And that allows Food to take position on Wine. So this mid-round rotation back to A, the positioning is actually very good for Envy. Having Food in Wine position, Crashies can play retake. He's actually going to drop onto the side. He wants to get the challenges in, and you can't blame him when he's hitting shots like that. But there comes Food from A main, making the difference there for Envy, and GMD is the last man standing. Looking for that fake TP. To see if that's going to give him anything here, as he has to jump through to find the spike, and all he's going to find is the barrel of the gun of Mummy, and that's going to be a wrap. A 10-2 first half in favor of Envy. It's not a good start at all for Gen.G.
Dan, it's the unknown that is crippling Gen.G right now. Every time they go somewhere, the unknown, where Food was that time, to take them down from Wine. A quick position doesn't have the right flank, doesn't have that right information, and they keep getting hit. That's their thorn in the side. It just seemed like they couldn't get around that. We'll see what they have for second half here. Like you said, not a great start. Pistol is imperative here for Gen.G, unless they can just put up every round after that. It's going to be tough, though. Envy is on a roll.
Definitely, and I think there's a lot to be said for the lack of a lurker on Gen.G's attack, but we'll talk more about that later on, as we'll see, as you say, this really critically important pistol. Gen.G on that defense, and they have that initial focus around B main, but as that early rush timing it goes past, we'll see them starting to spread out a little bit more, looking for information around Catwalk, but the timing from our Food is just perfect. That curveball fully blinding two players. They get positioned towards tree. They can do whatever the hell they want towards that A site now as they pick up the frags on the way.
Awesome to see here. Flying through. You'd love to see the fast pistol round strat. Gen.G trying to answer. Kusta and Sean doing a beautiful job as they retake tree. 2v1 as Food has the frenzy, and he's locked into almost under hell position. I should say heaven, but he gets himself to default boxes.
Food, he's going to be surrounded, trying to work the crate on site, but G&D takes him down. Yeah, just an amazing re-entry there. The paranoia coming through from G&D was great. Was huge. Great connections, and that's something. You know, that's something for Gen.G to maybe get some of the confidence back, get themselves a good start, of course. And the thing is, though, we don't know exactly what to expect just yet from Envy's attack in the way that they will be running the default. And I think that having Win on the Jet, if they can get an operator into his hands early on, I feel like that could really be very powerful. Sean as well is going to be extremely crucial. Just having disruption in Envy's default when they get to that on the next buy round is going to be, I think, one of the big win conditions for Gen.G.
And you can see they're just full armor into the Spectres so they can get utility. None of these Bulldog have utility buys with armor. They want to make sure that this round has everything, or they can give this round everything they offer. Door's gone already as they try to drop that. And a good push here. Gen.G trying to get a bit of info. They're going to find FNS. Kusta takes him down, and now they can start to work a little bit smarter on this round.
It looked like FNS was looking at the radar at that precise moment that peaks. His reactions were very slow, but especially as the IGL, you're definitely looking at the radar perhaps a lot more than your teammates. And And that is pretty tough. You can see actually Gen.G are happy to kind of give up these close positions. They don't want to allow the numbers advantage to overwhelm them. So much easier to play retake against a team that has very limited utility. So we'll see how that works for them. Spraying through the dark cover for one. And the Nano Swarm as well, slowing down the push. Not really allowing NV entry. And Sean, he's going to charge up his ult with a couple kills. And the anti-eco is dealt with almost flawlessly, just losing Kusa, which feels quite acceptable. But now, as we mentioned, Riv, you know, the real play begins. What is NV's attack going to look like, and how does Gen.G respond?
You might get where are they going? I say raise towards B, Roomba to start, info gain on whoever might be pushing through, or just nade towards cat start. Maybe they do that. And they are going to leave right now FNS over towards that side. It seems like they'll consistently do that to start these rounds. It's so good to recognize the early push, Tacti Bear. And they'll have a few here to start this off. It's going to be that 2-2 towards B with just roam from Crashies right now.
Yeah, Gen.G got the A main control early on. So I'm curious to see if we'll see the round slow down after we get this initial play for map control from Envy. And they've got that presence on mid. They took B main over, and now you can see they're rotating around. And the drone comes through from Michael to see, okay, they're rotating out, they're resetting, but which direction are they going? Sees that most players are in mid, so at this point, Envy could still go either way. But to answer that, another information play. We get a forward gelato push coming in from Win. And now if they time this well, this could make a huge difference. But they are on Spectres. Again, that is going to be problematic for the range that Win's going to be playing with. Oh, he gets it though.
Spike down mid.
Took so much. Bringing the recoil down, gets it. That's going to be 2 down now on the side of Envy. Gen.G feeling good here. FNS has some good positioning and everybody pushing out. They're trying to find him. Phantom coming up big. Almost gets him with the util out. And now they know his positioning.
Last player standing.
Big round so far from Gen.G.
30 seconds left.
Spectres against Phantoms. It's a 2v1 now in favor of Gen.G. The spike is on the ground, and Mummy has to push forward. The Paranoia is going to connect. Oh, he's going to make it happen for Envy. That is disgusting. The Red Ball clutch. Oh, that Paranoia was perfect. What a beautiful, beautiful clutch from Mummy. I thought that Gen.G had that in the bag.
Standing.
I am right there with you, and honestly, Dan, it should have been. That is a round that you win. What a play from Mummy. Anybody to do it, obviously he comes out and makes it happen. And that's 11-4. These early rounds were huge for Gen.G to be able to get. And Envy stops the bleeding early. Like you said, what's going to happen for this first gun round? Well, it took us for a ride.
Well, the interesting thing is that at least for Gen.G, they did a lot of damage. So we got 4 Spectres on Envy. Even though Envy won the round, they've got a worse buy. So it's basically the same round, but in reverse now. So we'll see the difference in approach already. Michael's starting off with drone info. At the start of the round, they got catwalk control. They've given up A main, have Gen.G, and Envy will this time have control of A main, but they don't have control of B main just yet. So Win getting that info with that catwalk, and at this point, Gen.G don't really know what's going on. They haven't got any control of the extremities, so they've got to start worrying, and they don't have the drone anymore. So they don't have a way to easily gain the information that they need. And here comes a contact into A main from Envy.
See, there's the Paranoia. Oh, that was dark cover. Paranoia not out. And they're going to start hitting the site. Mikhail just calling that. Shots through the smoke, making sure he can still add pressure later as the flank now coming in from both sides. Is that a rotation all the way around from Win? Looks like he's just going to hold Cat from Tree, but that's going to be a good pincer here on what may happen inside the site. Here comes Gen.G.
Nice trade coming in from Michael, though, and Crashies has got big straight onto the top of Generator, standing large and in charge before dropping off quickly, though. 4 versus 4 retake as Gen.G indeed using that lockdown. Ooh, if the shock dart's going to connect to destroy it, doesn't look like it's going to. And oh dear, that's actually a detain as well on Crashies. That's not ideal. And they're all playing from A main, so this is beyond awkward at this point. Kusa, no fear in the dark cover, looking for the fight. It's an absolute brawl there in the dark cover, and Envy starting to come out from top TND, wondering what the hell happened to his teammates, as he's unable to have anyone to help defend him to defuse. And Envy pick up the round, and oh man, it doesn't feel like that should have happened at all, but Envy, man, they just always make it work.
Yeah, having 5 in the one area becomes or the rest of the people, I should say, in one area is always like, oh no, there's a chance we really lose this round. But like you said, they make it work. And yeah, I'm sure GMD was kind of just watching his team run into that void of a dark cover and wondering where they went. Unfortunate there. We'll see what happens here. Possible final round of our first map, Dan. 12-4 here has Envy. Seems to be feeling on point right now. And Food takes down Kusta to start us off here. Another bonus too.
Food so fast. Kusta, no one hit him. Crit it out though, so the retake is definitely a strong possibility here.
You should
Finesse has a lockdown that he could try to place, and he's going to do just that inside the site. That's going to buy a lot of extra time. There's no real way to actually destroy that, and they can't reasonably get the kills in time, so they're going to have to get out of there. Oh, Sean, is he going to get caught? He's just barely caught.
Jazz hands.
No! And Mummy's tiles ready for the punish. And that's going to make things even more difficult. They're going to charge down Crashies, who was paranoid. And GENG moving through the site. Finesse able to defend, but there's the trade from the Bucky. Drone Stopper comes out to finish it off, and Caboose is going to nail it. And that's a 13-4 victory. The first map in the hands of Envy.
So many, like it was, what, 13-4? But there was so many rounds that were back and forth. What was happening in that chaos? And I think that should probably scare Gen.G because Envy seemed to orchestrate it perfectly. They did not seem out of sorts. They kept controlling everything. Everyone was fragging on the board, which made it difficult. The fact that on top of what they were doing, it was a full team effort coming in from Envy. And we did see Gen.G switching things up, trying to make it in there, but it was tough.
Yeah, it was really tough. It looked like whatever the game plan for Gen.G was on that attack didn't work out, didn't pan out like it did against 100 Thieves, and they definitely seem to have something prepared.
Right.
So we'll have to see if they can do better in the next map, but it is time for a break, and then the analysts.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than just a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+, as well as Discovery+, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.
Let's go.
Apply now at RedBullCampusClutch.com.